Publisher EMSNOW, and welcome to this edition of EMSNOW Up Close. Today, we once again get to visit with Cogiscan and with Greg Benoit there. Greg, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Why don't you start by giving, people know you, we've interviewed you before, but Lord knows there may be some newbies out here. So why don't you give a quick intro to Cogiscan and who they are in the industry?
Sure. So Cogiscan is a primarily software company focused on electronics manufacturing, and we offer products for helping with digital transformation, IoT, those kinds of things, factory automation, and so forth. And so things like we have an IoT platform that we may talk a little bit about later. We also have a platform called Track, Trace, and Control for doing things like material control, traceability, analytics, and so on, as well as some hardware devices that we can offer as kind of peripherals on the edge to do some processing in the factory also. So we've been around for over 21 years now. Global company, customers pretty much everywhere where electronics manufacturing is done.
Good. Well, thank you for that. So how has the disruption from the pandemic affected your customers and their demand for digital transformation? Has it been positive? Has it been negative? What's going on?
Well, to be honest, I've been a bit surprised at how much interest we've still seen in this from customers and this whole sort of digital transformation thing, given the current economic climate. Of course, certain sectors of electronics manufacturing have actually seen an uptick in demand as a result of the pandemic. The obvious one being the medical market for unfortunate reasons. But the other segment being the server market because of the increased demand now for streaming video. A lot more people doing video conferencing as they work from home, or they can't go out anywhere right now, so they're stuck at home watching Netflix or Hulu or what have you. But interestingly, we've also seen strong interest in this topic from manufacturers in other segments who are actually seeing more of a slowdown in certain areas, which in one sense could sort of seem counterintuitive to see greater demand for anything at a time like this. But from another standpoint, it makes a lot of sense, because what it seems like has happened is that many companies have chosen to use this slower period as an opportunity to focus on optimizing their operations through things like digital transformation. And, there are a lot of good reasons for them wanting to do this. For example, less demand means more downtime, which means more time on their hands to undertake this kind of an optimization initiative. It's a lot easier to try to make changes to your operation when you're slow rather than when you're running at full capacity. And also for many, because of the downturn, they don't have as much of a capital budget for large investments and things like equipment. And so that makes software an attractive and affordable alternative to still invest and make progress, and instead focus on getting more out of the equipment that they already have. And we're actually trying to help with that budget issue as well from our side by offering some of our solutions with a subscription pricing model as opposed to requiring a full upfront purchase of the licenses. And then, automation has always been the trend in our industry, but now more than ever, I think there's an even stronger desire to automate certain labor-intensive operations, since having large groups of people operating the factory is not a very safe or sustainable strategy at this point, even in the low-cost manufacturing areas. And so I think the pandemic is only going to accelerate that trend toward factory automation in general. And then finally, and I think encouragingly, a lot of manufacturers seem to be taking the long view here and saying, look, this pandemic will end at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. And so they're looking for ways to make smart moves now so that once we're past the pandemic, they can come out stronger on the other side and be poised to take even better advantage of the upturn. And so that's basically kind of the dynamics we're seeing amongst the various electronics manufacturers.
Yeah. Well, in addition though to the manufacturers, you also work with a lot of the equipment manufacturer, the equipment vendors. What are you seeing from that side of the business?
Right, that's very true. So we do serve that market as well through our equipment partner program. And so, of course, we meaning Cogiscan and the equipment vendors, ultimately serve the same base of end customers. And so our equipment partners are all subject to those same dynamics I mentioned. And so for them, they're also looking for attractive alternative solutions that they can sell to meet that same demand for digital transformation from their customers. And so our solutions that they sell as OEM products are also an attractive offering at the moment. And so if they have customers who can't afford to buy equipment right now or don't have the need to, it gives them something still to offer and talk about and so on. So we've seen a lot of interest from that segment of the market as well. And in fact, by the time this interview airs, I think you'll be seeing some announcements from us about some very exciting new partnerships that we've established that I can't reveal just yet, but you will see very shortly. So we're continuing to see growth on that front also.
Okay, well, we look forward to that update then. Well, tell me then, is there kind of a standard roadmap that manufacturers can follow to achieve digitalization?
Yes, there is. So the framework we use for approaching this topic is by looking at it in terms of what's called the factory data journey. And actually our CTO, Andre Corvo, talked about this a bit during his last interview with you, but I can expand on it a bit more. Basically, the factory data journey can be broken down into four main building blocks. The first is factory data collection. So getting connectivity and collecting data from all the machines, but also capturing data manually using HMIs or GUIs, screens, operator screens, as well as through IoT devices. Then once you're collecting all the data, you've got to put it somewhere and do something with it. And we call that data management. So this is centralizing the data, contextualizing it, which means adding value to the data by relating it to other types of data that make sense in an electronics manufacturing environment. So that, for example, a serial number that gets collected can mean something, can be tagged to a product part number, a work order, a step in the manufacturing route, to the materials that are placed on it, and so forth. And then the next one would be process automation. So once you're collecting the data and managing it, you've got to do something with it. And this is where process automation comes in. So tracking and controlling products, materials, processes, and machines, adding in traceability and those kinds of things. And then finally, analytics. So you have visualization and analytics tools that use all the data and automation to gain visibility of what's going on across your operation, gauging performance, measuring OEE and things like that, identifying problem areas, and then using that information to drive corrective action or preventive action to make improvements. So those are the four main building blocks that we use as kind of a blueprint of how to tackle an undertaking like this, with each one building on the last one in sort of a ground up approach, if you will.
So then how then has Cogiscan constructed its solutions to fill the needs in those areas?
Yeah, well, so our platform is built as a very modular platform. So you can start in stages. So, kind of build from the ground up, as we say. So starting with our IoT platform, which includes the connectivity layer, the machine interfaces, and the various operator GUIs and those IoT devices. In fact, we have a new device actually we're bringing to market as we speak that we're about to announce that you'll see more about. Then we have the data management layer on top of that. Then we have our modular TTC platform, which stands for track, trace, and control. That's for implementing the process automation and delivering the analytics in the areas where it's needed. And it's constructed in such a way that, different customers will have different needs. Some will want, sort of a more inclusive or holistic solution where they'll want one system to do a larger scope. And they can use our platform to cover most, those major functions that they want. Other customers will have, systems in place already that they want to keep, or they'll have other commercial solutions that they want to incorporate. And so it's built in a modular fashion, so you can kind of snap in the different pieces that you want without having to necessarily go, full blown with Cogiscan, and have kind of a best of breed strategy, if you will, where you pick certain things that are, best at certain things, and Cogiscan comes in where we best fit, essentially.
Okay. So you dropped a reference to a new device in there. So begs the question, is there anything about that you can tell us more?
Yeah, so we have a new product we're just releasing to the market, which is always exciting. It's a hardware device. It's called TTC Check, and it's basically a lightweight IoT device with a touch screen. Can be used for manual data input for non-conveyorized parts of the process. So like in the back-end assembly and test area, you can add this device anywhere where you need to scan PCBs by hand with a barcode scanner for traceability or to do things like route control. So for example, a lot of customers have a problem in their back-end test area in that they're not able to tell whether a PCB has already failed inspection or not, with the result being that their operators end up wasting a lot of time testing PCBs that have already previously failed in the process. So to prevent this, the TTC Check device can be connected in between the tester and the barcode scanner, and then the operator can scan the PCB, and the device will check with our platform to see whether the board should be tested or not before it's actually allowed to be run. And if not, they're prevented from testing the board and they're given an error. So it can save up the operator a lot of wasted time testing things that have already failed. So that's something new and exciting. It's always fun to bring new products to market that solve, real concrete problems for our customers.
Yeah, no, as you develop your solutions, right, you identify gaps and you seek to fill them. So very
Exactly.
good. So tell me about Cogiscan then. How about you guys? I mean, how has this pandemic affected the way you guys do business?
Yeah, well, the kind of neat thing is we're actually sort of walking our talk, so to speak. We're always talking about the value of digital transformation and so forth. And we're actually undertaking a major digital transformation initiative of our own right now internally. We're subject to some of the same dynamics that I talked about earlier, where some of us have some more downtime of our own now, mainly in the sales and service department. And that's just because we're not traveling anymore. So those of us road warriors who are on the road all the time, now we've been grounded for months. And so, we said, okay, we've got more time in the office than we had before. What are we going to do with this? So we've chosen to take advantage of that time, as I mentioned, our customers are doing, to focus on some internal improvements of our own. And also, we've grown a lot in recent years. So we've added a lot more people. And, over time, when you grow like that, you get to a point where you find that some of the business processes and the IT systems that you had in place don't really meet your needs anymore, right? You have to stay, but you're not able to scale up with those systems that used to work for you when you were kind of at a smaller size. Yeah. So we're in the midst of our own kind of major digital transformation project where we're implementing more kind of robust IT systems and processes, and that's going to help us and help our customers, I think, to make it easier to do business with us, better customer portals, better online support for our customers, better logistics applications, and so forth. And also, our CEO, Vincent Dubois, mentioned in his recent interview with Phil, we've had to adapt our way of doing business to reflect the new reality of the pandemic also in the short term. And so that's things like more tools for remote sales and support. So, these sort of chat features and making our products easier to install remotely, or in some cases enabling the customers to do more of the installation themselves without our help, those kinds of things. And so all that's very exciting. I think will lead to some improvements in the way our customers can engage with us. And then as another thing that I mentioned a bit earlier, we're offering some of our products on a subscription basis now, as opposed to having a customer having to make a full capital expenditure to purchase all of the software up front. We now have a subscription model where they can pay for it over time, and amortize the cost over a number of years, which should help with customers who want to do this sort of digital transformation, but they just don't have the budget for it, which is something we've heard from a lot of customers in the market is, I want to do this, but I don't have a capital budget. So we've come with this kind of new business model to try and help them with that as well.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And I appreciate what you're saying there about taking the time to kind of look internally, because sometimes success breeds complacency, right? And so taking advantage of this to look at those processes and make sure that you're adjusting and making sure planning for future continued success.
Exactly.
Great use of time here, I think. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, Greg, I appreciate catching up with you today. I'm going to forego asking you an embarrassing question about your DJ career. And
you've softened in the pandemic, have you?
I have a little. Well, I'll be in complete transparency here. I did actually go online and look up, your handle, the DJ Benoit, and I got a guy in France who has that. He's going on tour, and I thought, my God, Greg's going on tour. And then,
when you're successful like me, you get guys that try and ride your coattails. As they say,
there it is.
Yes. Highest form of flattery. So, these things happen, but
yeah, that's right. That's right. He didn't look anything like you, by the way. So anyway, so listen, I always appreciate getting the time to catch up. I wish you continued success, happy holidays, and let's catch up again in 2021 and hope for a better year.
Sounds great. Thanks, Eric.